Will, thank you so much for sitting down today. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and the organization, that'd be great.
Should be glad to, and thank you for the opportunity also. My name is Will Cohn. I'm overall head of Benefits and Payroll at the Auburn University up in Alabama. I've been in my role for about 8-9 months now. It's my first foray into higher education, so kind of drinking from the fire hose, but I have over 20 years of employee benefit and HR experience in a variety of different roles and organizations, and I'm really looking for the opportunity to learn and grow within the HR field and in higher education, just to see how things can be different and things can be the same. And the opportunity to meet with the Connex team, my peers, and some of your partners has been very valuable, because not only am I learning what else is out in the market that I can't see myself because I'm too busy running around like a chicken without its head half the time, but it's also what other people are experiencing and learning from their mistakes, because that's how things are. In benefits in particular, I've always said I will never know everything and never claim to know everything, so bringing in new ideas is always refreshing to me, because I may miss something, because I'll never say I know everything. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, and you put HR and education together and this current climate on top of it, and it's incredibly challenging. When you and I first had our conversation on Zoom, just talking about, to your point, the challenges of executives like yourself today, when everybody wants a little bit of a piece of your time, and you've only got so much time and all the cultural and digital transformation going on, and you look at the world of benefits today and how challenging that is, all the point solutions, dealing with benefit administration, all the technology, and now AI in the middle of it. Let's go back to that first conversation. What was it when we first had our conversations, myself, Andrew, the team, what was it that was of an interest to you, as set against maybe other things that you've done with the many communities you've been a part of?
It's really the opportunity to get information, as I said, that I can't get on my own, simply because I'm too busy, I don't have the resources, and thinking outside the box. I've only been in higher education now for 8 or so months. And the challenge is, while students think it's a very progressive, dynamic environment, behind the scenes it can be very, very slow. And they're very slow to accept change for a range of reasons that I'm still personally learning about every day. So going out there and seeing what other peers have been doing, learning from their lessons, seeing what other tools that I may have missed out there, especially as you mentioned, the rapid pace of change with AI. Unfortunately, like many universities, our internal HR systems are pretty outdated, so we haven't been able to keep up with basically everyone else, and that's one of the big challenges. And now we're finally moving forward with that effort that I'm a part of but not in charge of. So right here I'm seeing what I see today and what I could see tomorrow, and how are we going to get from today to tomorrow is probably the biggest challenge we're facing, both in terms of technology adaptation, cleaning up our systems, cleaning up our policies, finding vendors that work with our new platform, and simply my team. Most of my team are long tenured, like many university employees. They've been there 15, 20, 30 years. They've been doing the same work for 15, 20, 30 years. Yeah. And I've been telling them, we're not trying to scare you with AI. From what I've seen myself out there in the market, both going to places like this, webinars I've been listening to in my own professional experience, it's your role will be okay, but what you do within your role is going to change. 80% of what you're doing today is not going to be what you're doing tomorrow. And how do we get them to be interested and not fearful of what is coming, so they can see the opportunities to grow with the universities we make this transformation going forward. And of course, then we have all the outside factors, the federal government changes. I mean, not going to go the politics of it, but one thing that any organization doesn't like is the unknown. Prior administrations, both sides of the party, usually the flow of money coming out of the government is pretty consistent and predictable. Right now it's not, so that's throwing another wrinkle into it, because you don't know which award is going to be granted and which is not going to be granted anymore. The process and the culture behind this change, so we're trying to adapt to that too. So there's a lot of different factors. Other higher education institutions are also being impacted by the noticeable drop-off in student enrollment. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, at Auburn is one of the premier, putting Alabama aside, probably the premier university, at least for education, in the state of Alabama. So our enrollment numbers are actually up. We're doing very well. But I know a lot of institutions, the smaller private schools, the smaller state schools, are really struggling. We're fortunate in that aspect, but I'm definitely mindful of what the challenges they're going to, and trying to make sure that we stay on top of our game so we don't have to deal with that also.
Yeah. Well, because of all the change that's going on, and when you're the top of the food chain, where you go, it really is that peer-to-peer engagement that you have, the knowledge sharing and the capacity to learn from your peers. maybe you could talk about that experience with Connex. As you said, providing a place where you can go and continue education with others that are going through the same challenges.
Yeah, my peers, the areas kind of alluded to before, the biggest challenge is this. I have employees who've been here long tenured, who've been doing the same job for many, many years. How do I help them transition? And for better or for worse, higher education is behind many other organizations doing so. I've been talking to my peers here who have done that transformation already from an older HRM platform to a new platform and all the technology that involves, and asking them, how do they engage their employees? How do they train their employees? What resources they use? I mean, frankly, I know there'll be a couple employees on my team who hear this change and they're going, I'm eligible for the state pension plan in 2 years. I'm going to try to hold on. Isn't that about much? And that's their own choice. But I don't want everyone to leave. And there are people, I think, who are interested in what the new opportunities will come up. So it's how do I give them the resources, the training, the drive to be part of that. And I really do want them to be part of it. So I've been talking to my peers and what their experiences with why we, maybe in higher education, which is a little bit unique, there are other public service organizations here, the other private companies have gone through it, and just kind of pulling their strings in terms of what they've done and what works best and what some of the pitfalls they run into so we don't run into the same thing. Because ultimately we're trying to do the best for our employees.
Right. And being able to do that in person is great. We also do that virtually. And I know you've been able to do some of that engagement. Maybe you can talk to the different parts of the Connex platform that are accessible for you, doing the virtual sessions as well.
Yeah, obviously I prefer the in-person. I think it's just easier network for a range of reasons, but that said, none of us have the time and the dollars to keep traveling every other weekend or something like that. So the virtual sessions provide a good bridge between the two, whereas you maybe meet once, maybe twice a year. You could use the webinars and the hour-long sessions that we have periodically, especially in hot topics, especially right now in HR biz, things are changing so rapidly. You could get a quick call on AI, you could have a quick call on some new rule that comes in place or some new tool. So you can have that quick get together and say, hey, how we're trying to do it. And I've been doing this for years, whether it be adapting to health ACA when it first came out, adapting to the internet when it first came out, and just going through all the steps.
Let's not go back that far.
Well, it's not that far.
We'll date ourselves.
It's not that far behind us. So, I mean, just learning what everybody else is doing, because especially in HR, which is so regulated in our field, we're all usually struggling when some new change first comes out because there's no rules yet for it. So it's what's there, what's the opportunity, but at the same time, what is the risk? Like a couple of years ago, to a prior employee, the ruling came out and we had a very active employee support group who really wanted us to do ABC, and we were looking at it going like, well, what is the risk? And working with my peers at other organizations who are struggling with the same thing, working with our trusted advisors, even places like Connex, not in that particular subject, but other areas, we were able to come up with a good compromise that provided the risk protection for the organization, but also gave something to the employees that they were really looking for. And that's kind of what I'm even doing here with Connex, is talking with the peers, learning from their lessons, seeing what we could do ourselves and trying to be successful at it.
Yeah. Well, and then on the flip side of that, so you got the peer engagement, but then as you said, at that rapid pace of change, you're going to need to bring in the solutionizing part of it, right? So maybe you can talk to the experience you've had thus far with meeting with different Connex partners who offer those solutions.
Well, we do need partners, and obviously I don't have the time, and there's, especially in the tech space, there are thousands and thousands of people trying to get mine and everybody else's attention. So what's good here is by curating it to a select number of vendors, it makes it more manageable. Because if I get 1,000 phone calls, I'm probably going to ignore every single one of them because I just don't have the time to deal with it. Here, I know that other peers have used them. I know you're cultivating them for specific matches based on our discussions. So it typically comes out more valuable than just somebody randomly calling me, which I find very valuable. Because again, I don't have the time to speak to every single vendor that's out there. There's things even in my own head that I'm still trying to flush out too. So it's a better match. May not be perfect at the time, or the timing may not be exactly right, but at least it narrows it down for me, so it becomes much more manageable in my own day-to-day job.
Yeah, well, and you're building relationships. Quite often these are long sales cycles when you're in a larger organization again, and then you get education on top of it. There's so much through procurement and where all the dollars and cents are going.
Public education too.
Yeah,
we have all the state rules to deal with, and they have some really interesting procurement requirements that I'm still looking at, and I just shake my head and walk away from.
Yeah, that's for sure. Anything I haven't shared that you might want to share that you've?
Yeah, I said it's right now, I said our big challenge at our organization is we finally got permission to hopefully move forward with changing our main HRM platform. So we now have a rough timeline. We're doing the dog and pony shows, as I like to say, with the two main potential vendors going forward. So those have already been scheduled. But now I'm thinking, how are we going to get from A to B even without knowing which vendor we're going to? Because it's a long, long project. It's probably a 1.5 to 2 year lift on itself. It's going to be very time demanding. It's going to be crucial to everybody, and we have to get it right because it's so critical to the university and to our employees. So a lot of different moving parts. Again, talking to the peers to see who've already made a change to a Workday and Oracle, which are the two we're looking at. Understanding what the pitfalls are. Maybe like even one of the partners you met me with, I hadn't even really thought about it too much. It's been on the side of my mind. Like, how do you handle 30 years of data transfer from not even just the old HRM platform we have, but from file cabinets that are in the next hallway over from me? How do we handle all that? So it put some interesting ideas in my head. I'm not the 100% right person for that, but now I could talk to my colleagues and my peers within the university who are more directly involved and have a discussion with them to make sure that it's been addressed, because some of it will eventually come back to me, like eligibility requirements for the Alabama teachers retirement system. Normally, we keep 7 years of records for most benefit programs. They require 30 years. So that's an entire different challenge. So, and it said there's a lot of different strings to pull. So how do we get our ship in shape? Because while our current HR system is problematic, it's not just the HR system's fault. A lot of it is our own fault for what we've done with it and what it shouldn't have been done with it. So we're trying to do a clean slate where we're trying to pull a lot of things out, take them down, simplify in advance of moving it, because we want a clean slate moving a new platform, because the old adage is junk in, junk out.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Will, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and sitting down with us. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the investment you make with Connex, and so looking forward to many more years.
Me too. Definitely appreciate the time, and best wishes to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.